So good evening. I'm back again playing with my Blackmagic HyperDeck Shuttle 2 using the Sony A7R, using the HDMI output interlace mode. Requires interlace mode, progressive mode does not work. I wished it did, but it's not. This is Apple ProRes HQ, Apple ProRes 422 HQ. Produces very large files, but smaller than uncompressed. So I'm not doing the compressed. I have everything set on the camera neutral setting. I have a manual lens. It is an old 1960s Porst Super Wetwinkle. That's 28 millimeter at f2.8. Pretty nice. Actually, no. This is my. Actually, my Wetwinkle is on my Canon at the moment. I have my Super Takumar 55 millimeter 1.8 on my Sony camera. M42 screw mount, and set at 5.8 on the aperture. Everything's manual setting. Got my soft boxes around the room. Looking on my big screen monitor here, I look a little red. I'm not sure if that's how it's going to come out, but that's untouched, unprocessed, all that good stuff. I was trying to do video, and I actually can do video without the camera in video mode. But it didn't produce any audio, so I put it on video, and hopefully I'm going to get audio out of the camera to record, because I've done that before already. But my external recording device, as you can see, I have a little lavalier here, which is an old Apple headphone set with the headphones cut off and the mic left in place. Use my iPhone for the sound, and the quality of the sound is actually quite good. So I use it. I like it, and we just post-process it in. I just sync it up to the sound from the camera. Makes it real simple. So I just wanted to show again the quality of the Apple ProRes H22 coming out of the HDMI on the Sony A7R. This thing that I'm recording to has a 480 something gigabyte solid state hard drive in it, and so I can just record as long as I have power to the camera and to my Blackmagic and to my iPhone. I can record all day long. My camera doesn't even get hot because it's not actually recording, it's just looking and sending a signal out HDMI. So that helps. My cat in the background is howling. Poor old gal. She's old. She's 20 years old. Anyway, I'm just testing again this setup. I'm hoping to use it out in the field so I can get long recordings if necessary on one disc. I can take a bazillion takes if I need to, whatever it takes. And again, I've got my new Samyang lens here. It's an 85 millimeter cine lens with the cine gear, all the text on the side rather than the top. Everything's declicked, nice and smooth. This is a T1.5 or an F1.4, if that's how you want to look at it. It's an internal focus, so nothing spins and turns. It's all done internally. It's actually a very nice lens. Got lots of glass, lots of eyeball in this little sucker here. So you can see that pretty good. The quality of the Sony is exceptional. I like it. I might be able to do a little better on the focusing, but this is a manual lens just messing around in the office. The other lens I have is another manual lens. It's an old one. It's called a Porst Super Wetwinkle Auto. It's a 28 millimeter with a 2.8 f-stop. It's kind of a wide angle. Works really nice. Nice group shots if you're doing photography with the family group. I've already done a couple pictures like that in some pretty crappy light, I'd like to say. And I also had this on my A7 to show people what the 28 millimeter shows a whole bunch of this room. And I don't really want to see a whole lot of the room. I just want to see a little bit. So I have my 55 millimeter Super Takumar on my camera, and it's a really nice little lens for what it is. And it's not the best for blurring and all that kind of stuff because it is only a six bladed armature. I'd like to have like a 15 blade so everything's just, that bokeh's nice and round. But for just doing video in the office, no big deal. This is what I like. For my Sony camera, I bought a Benro monopod with feet on it. It's got a speed release on the top. I'd like to get a little added plate on top when I put my camera on here, because my camera sits really flush with that speed plate on there, and it's kind of bumps into things. I'd like to have it raised up a little bit. It should be. We're also going to set up with a camera setup with the rails and follow focus and all that kind of stuff. So that's coming. And I've got things set up to where we can take this out on the field, including the Blackmagic box. I'm going to be building a external battery pack for it to take along so it'll last a long time, and also be able to power the camera from that battery pack, as well as the iPhone. If I need to charge the iPhone, I can just plug it in and charge it. And the batteries I have are fairly large. My A7 is similar to the old Pentax, except you got a little grip around where the battery is, and it's all a little bit narrower on this side here, but it still has the little bump on the top for your eyepiece. And this one here is the single lens reflex, so it is actually looking through the lens. The one on the Sony is not. It is a monitor. It's an OLED monitor. It's a 200 megapixel, just this little itty bitty monitor, and it is just crisp can be. The nice thing is using that, it's really easy outdoors to use it. I like it better than the little back monitor plate on the back of the camera, because the sun hits that back monitor and it just makes it really hard to see. Yeah, excuse me for looking into my thing over here. I just tend to, since I'm practicing and playing, I like to see how everything's turning out. So anyway, not a whole lot more, but I can tell you that the A7 or the A7R with the HDMI out into the Blackmagic box is much better than the Canon T3i, which I've already done a review with. Canon looks pretty good, but you have to have the Blackmagic hooked to that camera, and also you do not get audio through the HDMI. So that's why I came up with my little iPhone audio to sync up. But because the Sony has audio, I can just sync to the audio. I don't have to worry about any clapper boards or anything like that. But I have them. But the Canon actually put out some pretty good video. I was able to get it to put out some clean HDMI and look pretty good. I wish it would pump it out in progressive just right out of the gate. I think Blackmagic has a little ways to go with their product. I think they could do a software fix maybe that will help. They say it'll do progressive, but I've not yet seen it. It won't even allow me to video unless it's set in the HDMI interlace mode. Now, just directly to the TV, I can do progressive directly to the TV here, but it won't let me do progressive in there. So post-processing, I think we're going to look just fine. Post-process it out at 30 frames per second. Progressive rather than 60 frames interlace. That should clean everything up, make it look really good, clean and sharp. And that's what we're looking for. So, Focus Monkey here in the background. He's my new partner in crime here, doing the A7 review. I've got a few different lenses. You know, I'm probably not going to do a lot of lenses here in the office because I don't have a lot of distance here. So most of the lenses aren't good for that. I do have a Sony lens. It's one that came with the A7, sold as a kit lens. And by a kit lens, most kit lenses are El Cheapo stuff, guys. The Sony lens that they have, they said they weren't going to sell it, but guess what? They are selling it separately from the Sony site at almost $500. I got this one at under $400. They're actually over 400, $410. And this is a fabulous little lens. It's an E-mount Sony, and it just bolts directly up to this sucker, and it's all automatic function. I do have manual focus, manual zoom, or I have all automatic. If we want to do auto, all the auto stuff, and it's quiet, it's smooth, and it has real good quality image with this lens. So don't kid yourself. This Sony lens is not, in my opinion, not a kit lens. They did say they weren't going to sell it separately, but they decided after they released it that they're going to, and so they did. And I got it cheaper. You know, just a little bit about it. Watching the Sony reviews, people were showing off the lens, and they kind of had their little ifs and buts, and you know, all these guys that do pro stuff. To me, it's more like they're people who do product reviews. They're not really pro stuff. Some of them may be, but they did a lot of really fast, quick, under-the-gun testing in really crappy light with a lens that's only a 3.5 f-stop lens instead of a really wide open like f1.4, which is the downfall to this. But other than that, if you have good light, this is a dynamite lens. Good outdoor stuff. Good indoor lights. Canon super fantastic plastic 50mm lens. It's a great lens. It's crappy case, plastic, but the glass is good. In manual mode, I can actually put it on my Sony. All the automatic functions are no longer usable. I have no aperture control. I do have my focus ring. Focus ring is thin and cheap and up in front, but it does work. This is a full frame lens, and I like it, but I probably won't use it much on the A7. The other lens I have is an old Minolta lens. It's the old style. It's not an A-mount. And this one's a 58mm f1.4. It's got a lot of light. It too is, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blade. That's okay, because I'm probably going to use it a lot with its wide open. And the adapter that I bought, I actually bought two of them. The first one had the focus to infinity lens built into the adapter. Don't do it. It's a waste of money. It creates a lot of chromatic aberration. It works, allows you to focus to infinity, but lousy imaging, and the quality of the glass that they used in the adapter is just absolute junk. Might as well just throw it away. I won't use it, and I won't sell it to anybody else because it's not worth it. The adapter I did buy is one that has no lens in it. This will not allow me to focus to infinity, and it is for a Canon. So I used it on my Canon camera, but because it no longer focuses to infinity, what it becomes is it basically becomes an extension tube. And we know, if you know anything about them, that it renders your lens a macro lens. So this is just a short extension tube, and now my nice 58mm lens is a macro lens. And that's all it's good for, is good close-up work. But I like it because I've got a nice big aperture, and I can go 1.4 and just get some really dynamite focus stuff, flowers, bugs, little things, and it's dynamite. It's actually a really nice lens. I like it a lot. So I just have it out here on the desk to show you. I like my old Pentax Super Takumar M42 lenses. Nice little screw mount. So here's a 35mm f3.5 6 blade. This actually works nice on the Sony as well. It's clean. It is a wide. It's a wide lens. Since I'm not using my film cameras anymore, it's just now a shelf goodie that looks good on the shelf. So at the moment, I think that's about all I've got. No, not actually. M42 mount I bought at B&H to adapt to the E-mount Sony. There's a little ring right inside here that you would screw. We'll take my little lens off of here again and show you. So your little screw mount lens to this, and you'll be able to see here that there's a gap in between here, and that gap doesn't allow the camera to focus to infinity. But the nice thing is this ring, which I just noticed yesterday, by the way, has little screws, 3 of them. So I'm going to unscrew those, and I'm going to screw this centerpiece, because there's more threads, allow me to screw this down inside and find that point where I can get this flush, because that's what I need to do, is get this lens flush with the adapter, and that will allow me to focus to infinity. And so I have some work to do. I'm going to see if I can get that to work, because that way I can just hook this little setup here and have this directly onto my Sony camera, and I don't have to worry about my Canon adapter for the Sony camera to use my little M42s, because I like the M42s. I'm going to get some more. I'm a manual lens kind of guy. I much prefer manual lenses. Nice thing about the A7 is it has focus peaking. I like it, and it also has the magnification, so I can mag up my image twice, 5 times, and then by 10, and focus on that. And focus peaking is still working, even in focus mode, when I'm or magged up mode, so I can focus really nice. It's a nice handy feature to have with your old manual lenses, and also you still have control of your ISO, all that stuff, aperture settings, all the little goodies that you need, and it actually turns out pretty good. So then you've got your Kelvin setting, so you get good color rendering and all that kind of stuff. So I had to kind of play with that a little bit here. I think I have to play with it a little bit more because I have a blend of lights in this room. A couple of them are really bright. They're good for this, but four of them that I have in here are kind of orangey looking, and they're not designed for this kind of work. So, but I use them because it gives just more photons floating around the room. Gets a little better image. So you can see behind me the bookcase. Everything looks pretty good in focus. I like it. So yeah, I'm looking at my monitor right here. Yeah, I don't want to swing that around. So anyway, hope you like this one. So the Blackmagic HyperDeck Shuttle 2 actually now has a place in my photography equipment, and I get to use it. So until next time, we'll talk to you later. And turn everything off.